1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. It's been very sad news that's come in overnight, and in the US with that terrible boat tragedy, the tanker that containing containers that ran into the bridge. I watched it sort of last night on CNN here in Australia, and I just sat there in absolute horror. I can't wrap my head around what the families are going through, the first responders, everybody that's involved in it. It is a terrible tragedy, and let's hope that they get some answers and find anybody that might still be in the water. And also our heart goes out to Princess of Wales this week, Catherine, with her diagnosis with cancer. I mean, I can't begin to imagine what that means for that family. And she has young children, and, we're all praying for her, and we're all hoping that she makes a full and speedy recovery. It's not a battle that anybody should have to go through. And I know there's many, many families around the world that are facing that at the moment that aren't in the spotlight. And our heart goes out to each and every one of you. I mean, I don't think there's a person in the world that I've met yet that hasn't been touched by that terrible disease in some form or another, whether it's been a close family person, a friend, or just, knowing somebody, your neighbour or whatever, that's gone through their battle with cancer. I haven't certainly missed that trip either. I've had a few family members that have fought it over the years, and it's not an easy journey. And here in Australia, not to sort of leave the local stuff out, we had a terrible tragedy overnight too, where we had 3 fishermen died off the South Australian coast that were out, getting fish for everybody for the Easter holidays. So wherever you are in the world, if you've been facing anything this week, please know that you're in our hearts, you're in our prayers, and we hope that things improve for you over this Easter break. Anyway, the Simply Tarot card of the week is money problems. It's the 8 of Cups. It's the card of money problems, or turning your back and walking away, knowing nothing more can be done. Now, sometimes in life we have a situation where we've put our best effort in, we've put our best foot forward, we've done everything humanly possible that we know about, and there's nothing left to do except to turn our back and walk away. And if you notice that he's walking sort of what seems to be up the hill, not down the hill, the cups are in front of him, so it's sort of like the cups are still full, so there's still potential there, there's still opportunities there for you to be able to make some changes in your life that will bring about some improvements. But the first thing you have to do is let go of it emotionally. The Cups cards are always connected to emotions. You can see the moon in the background there. And for those people that aren't familiar, the Simply Tarot deck was brought out in 2005, I think it was now, and by Hinkler Books here in Australia, taken off the Rider-Waite deck. And this is actually a real live shot of the beach that's only 5 minutes away from me, Currumbin Beach. So we did use some actual Australian footage and scenery in these cards, and they were all purpose shot photographs. But anyway, getting back to the card at hand, it is time to turn your back and walk away from things that you can no longer have any control over. And then I think you will start to see improvements as you start to slowly walk up the hill. You'll start to feel as if you're regaining your control again. And I think that's the important thing, is to be able to regain control again and to be able to move forward and say, I've given it my best shot, and now I can only just move forward. And I think that's a really important way to look at that card. So we're going to move on to the astrology section of the week. And look, I get lots and lots of messages during the week after the show that people really enjoy this and they look forward to this. And if they don't catch it live, they go back and watch it later on a catch up on one of our many systems. And it's really sort of always still surprises me how that people sort of really take to astrology. Lots of people pick up a newspaper or a magazine, and now we get it online. And the first thing that they do is head to their horoscope, whether they agree with it or not. It's sort of like a ritual, isn't it, that we all have to do so. So what I endeavour to do on this part of the show is not break down the 12 signs. I look at the transits or where the planets are sitting just prior to the show, and that's what I do. I call it my Polaroid snapshot of what's happening in the universe at the moment, and then I discuss with you how that's going to affect each and every one of the signs, or if it's going to affect a particular portion of the population more so, I highlight that. So this week it's happy birthday to all the Aries. I have loads of Aries friends, and they're some of my favourite people in the world because they are sort of, positive, outgoing, go-getting. Some people say a little bit selfish. Maybe they are, but, the first thing I learnt when I learnt astrology many moons ago was me first, and it was the Aries is me first. They're the motivators. They're the ones that get us up off the couch, and, they don't hang around to see the end result. They're off onto the next adventure. So, again, happy birthday to all the Aries. So we've got the tail end of the full moon, which was a lunar eclipse as well in Libra, which is the opposite sign to Aries. So that's where you know where the full moon is. It's always directly opposite the sun sign, or where the sun is placed at the moment in the chart. So the full moon in Libra is about bringing things into a balance. So if you're facing anything legal, now's the time that hopefully things will go your way, that things will be brought into balance more. It's a time of sort of not being greedy, of sort of looking at the other person's point of view or the other person's opinion. It's balancing those scales that, things need to be in balance. So, lunar eclipses, everybody has different ideas. I'm not going to go into much of that now because we don't have the time. But, it's always about a time of change, of letting go, releasing things, and getting ready for the new adventures that are coming our way. So moving back to the normal part of astrology, now this is going to affect the fire signs more than any other sign. So we're looking at Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. It's the North Node. Now, this is not a planet. This is one of the moon's nodes. Now, it's showing us the way forward. Now, the North Node is asking you to really sort of be the very best that you can be. Sort of put your hat on that says, I'm going to be fair, I'm going to be just, I'm going to be a nice person, I'm going to show people some action, I'm going to be decisive, but at the same time, I'm aspiring to improve my life in a way that is the betterment of everybody around me, not just for me, but I'm showing people that by my actions, I'm a good person, I'm showing them the way forward, and I'm actually able to be a leader. Now, this is really important because sometimes I think we get so bogged down in our own issues that we forget that sometimes we can motivate somebody else or help somebody else by just being kind. Just a simple, little statement or giving them something uplifting or smiling at them or even being nice to them can be that one thing that that person needs. So let's hope in the next 7 days you can sort of be a leader and show a bit of kindness and a few smiles along the way. We also have Mercury, the planet of communication, which we talk about Mercury quite often on the show because, communication is incredibly important to each and every one of us, whether it's a telephone conversation, real life conversation, whether it's an email, a text message, snail mail, even any form of communication is really important. Now, Mercury is sitting in Aries at the moment, so we have to be careful that we don't become abrasive or a little bit too aggressive or a little bit too bombastic, that yes, we can be fiery and we can be enthusiastic and we can sort of show people we're passionate about what we're talking about, but make sure that it doesn't come across in a dictatorial or a bossy sort of manner. Now, Mercury is actually conjunct another one of what we call an Arabian part in astrology called Chiron. Now, Chiron is not actually a planet, and it's not actually an Arabian part. It's where we look for in the chart where we need healing. Now, again, because we're talking about the Aries energy, it's predominantly for the fire signs that I previously mentioned, but it also washes over the remaining 8 signs too. So we all need to do some healing. And the best way that we can do healing is to understand what needs to be healed, to talk about it, to understand it, to share with the people that are important to us. Now, I want to stress that, holiday times are the times when it can bring out the best in us, but it can sometimes bring out the worst in us too. As we gather around the table with family and friends over the Easter weekend, whether it be Good Friday or whether it be Easter Sunday or Saturday or Monday, and we have these gatherings with people, it's not the time to bring up some sort of grievance that you might have or something that's been festering deep inside that it ends up ruining it for everybody else. If there's something that needs to be discussed, this is probably not the time, because you might find that you get a bit bombastic, you get a bit aggressive, you're looking at it only from your point of view, not necessarily putting yourself in the other person's point of view. And I know that, family gatherings, whether they be Easters, Christmases, birthdays, special occasions, quite often bring out the worst in people, and particularly when they have a little tipple of something that they like, gives them a little bit of Dutch courage. So please be very aware of that. If you're going to bring up something, make sure that you have your listening ears on and you listen to what the other person's got to say too, because their opinion or their advice or their take on the situation is also equally as important as yours is. So On the positive side, this can be the time where we can get some great breakthroughs. We can get some family healing. If we only listen to each other and leave our egos at the door, then maybe we can resolve things that have been troubling the family as a collective unit for some time. So let's put a positive spin on it. And if you're going to bring up something that's tricky, make sure that you have your listening ears on and be gentle and caring and kind, and listen to what they've got to say too, because it's also very important. So for those that are seeking love, now this is really interesting, because I don't know a person in the world that really doesn't want love in their life. People say, oh no, I don't want a relationship. Well, that's usually BS. It just means I haven't found the right person, or I'm a little bit battle scarred from the previous situation. We all like to have someone special in our lives. So those people that are seeking someone new in your life, this doesn't necessarily just apply to the Pisces or the water signs. It applies to the whole 12 signs. I want you to look for love in an unusual sort of place. I want it to be somewhere creative, somewhere maybe you don't go. Maybe it's got a religious overtone. Maybe it's going and attending a church service, or going to something that's connected to the Easter break, somewhere where you wouldn't go on a weekly basis. You might be somebody that regularly attends church, but not every week do they have a special service, celebrating the life of Jesus and what the Easter weekend represents. So, look for doing something different outside the square. Look, do something that's different to you. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. This is a time when we should be coming across as being gentle, caring, loving, and quite creative. So, get out there and do something creative. I mean, if you've got an opportunity to go to a concert or something in the park that's celebrating what Easter represents, and they're having a bit of a sing along, even if you haven't got a good voice. It's all about participation, and it's all about being open to new and exciting opportunities as they come our way. We also have Neptune, the planet of creativity and positivity, sitting in Pisces also. So it's really sort of adding a flavour here to, a creative weekend coming up, or a time to get, immersed in the arts and the things that put a smile on our face. Now, finally, I want to talk about Jupiter is conjunct or holding hands Uranus in Taurus. Now, the Taurian energy is always about being fixed and rigid. It's earthy, it's practical, it's logical. It's about good food, good wine, nice home, nice possessions, things like that. So Jupiter's the planet of opportunity and expansion here. So yes, it is more predominantly focusing on the earth signs, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. But you have to be aware here, because as Jupiter is conjunct or holding hands Uranus. Now, Uranus is like the Tower card in the tarot. It comes out of nowhere. It's sudden. It's deliberate. It's definite. It can clear the garbage out of your life. It can do things very quickly. But you have to make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons. And sometimes I think we can become blindsided or one-eyed about, well, this is the right reasons because it's for me. And particularly with the Taurian energy, which can be quite selfish, which is what's mine's mine and what's yours is mine. You have to be very aware of, why are you doing something, or why are you creating this? Why is this happening? Are you being greedy? Are you being selfish? Are you not wanting to share? Are you not looking at the other person's point of view? Are you just looking at it through very narrow eyes? If that's the case, then Uranus can work against you. It won't necessarily bring the good fortune and the opportunities that you're hoping for. It will exaggerate that, in as much as, if you were going through a legal stoush and you were being greedy, so instead of you, say, only losing $1, you might lose $10. So you have to be very, very careful of this. And during the week, when I was doing research and focusing on things, it suddenly dawned on me that we've been talking so much about climate change when Pluto was in Capricorn, that I overlooked the most obvious thing, and that's Uranus sitting in Taurus. And he's been there for some time now. And because Uranus is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, what have we been seeing around the world? We've been seeing unusual, unexpected weather events. They keep saying the 1 in 100 year flood, and it's the third time it's happened in 5 years. And we've seen droughts, we've seen floods, we've seen fires, we've seen famine, we've seen anything that's connected to the earth has been sudden, unexpected, come out of nowhere, weather events that, even the authorities are scrambling to describe and understand why they're happening. Yes, I'm not saying that they're not connected to global warming. I'm a firm advocate for that. I do believe we've got to take more notice of our planet and start to work with it. But maybe this is what Uranus is trying to do, is shock us into getting out of our comfort zone and saying enough is enough. It's time now that we all need to collectively band together and try and prevent what Mother Nature is dishing out, because Mother Nature is showing us how angry she is that we're not respecting her world. So I'll just leave you with that thought. We're going to take our first caller now. It's Letitia in Nixa in Missouri. Letitia. How are you, Letitia?
I'm good.
Oh, Leticia, I'm sorry, dear. I'm not very good at pronouncing names.
It's okay.
How can I help? Do you have a question for me?
Where do you see my new person that I'm seeing? We're in a what you call a situationship, I guess.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. I don't need their first name or anything. I'm tuning into their energy. Has there been a lot of change in both of your lives as you sort of came together? It was sort of, was it an unexpected connection?
I mean, we were talking like 5 years ago, I guess, and we just had a really good connection and vibe and everything. And then we stopped talking and then started talking again, and it just started like it never ended.
Okay, good. But what they were showing me that there was a break there. So it's interesting that you said, it started 5 years ago and then there was a break and then you came back together again as if nothing had ever changed, that you just had a pause in the conversation. That's good. But in that time, I think both of you went through your own challenges in life and your own changes, that they had to be sort of out of the road, if I can put it that way, before the two of you could have this opportunity to reconnect and sort of pick up where you left off and start to be able to move forward. I feel that there's going to be a major decision to be made between the two of you before the end of this year. So I'm taking from that he doesn't live sort of close to you, that you can't sort of go and grab a coffee whenever you like. Is there a bit of drive time between the two of you?
A lot of what?
Is there a distance between the two of you? Does he live, an hour away from where you are, or?
He lives like 35, 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. He's not around the corner. You can't just ring up and say, let's go and grab a coffee. You've got to plan these things. I just feel that there's going to be a major decision around October, November this year to bring the two households together and form one. Is that what you're hoping for, that this is going to become a very serious, committed relationship?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing towards the end of this year. The discussion might start earlier than that, but I was actually seeing the physical changes coming in around October, November, and I feel he's going to be the one to make the move closer to you, not the other way round. But I'm not sure that he's moving in with you. I think there's going to be something that the two of you are going to set up as being a home that is uniquely for you two, like something new together. And whether that means it's, we split the difference and, we move to a location that's still close enough for him to go to work and still close enough for you and the things that you need to do in your life. So there's a lot to be discussed here, but I feel very comfortable with it. I feel very confident that this is going to work out. And it's really interesting because I think both of you have walked a very long, hard road to find each other. I don't think either of you have had an easy life. So it's nice to see finally that there's going to be a little bit of ease coming in and somebody that, you both can rely on each other and you understand each other, and that's a good thing. There's always great communication there, and there always will be. And that's a really important part of a relationship, is being able to communicate and understand, not always agree maybe with the other person, but understand where they're coming from, and let's find some neutral ground there that we can build upon. He's a really, really lovely gentleman. I know he's going to bring you a lot of happiness, and you've waited a long time for this, as he has done. So what I want to suggest to you is just be yourself. Don't sort of put any labels on anything. Just be yourself. Enjoy the time of, really, really getting to know each other and sort of understanding everything about each other. And, don't let people sort of say to you, oh, this is not right because he lives too far away, or, you've had a gap in the relationship. Take no notice of the people that aren't positive and on your side. Just remember that this is what's meant to be. The universe has worked hard to get the two of you together so that the two of you can have this happiness that you both deserve. So I hope that's helped you, and have a very happy Easter. We're going to talk with Kimberlyn in Watertown in New York. Are you there, Kimberlyn?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
I guess I'm just kind of wondering if the guy that I'm interested in right now, if it's going to turn into a meaningful connection or not.
Really, really interesting question because as you were sort of phrasing that and sharing that with us, I got the symbolism of endings, but I didn't feel that it was applying to the relationship ending. I felt it was applying to the fact that things were going to start to ramp up. Like, we've gone through this sort of almost two steps forward, three steps backwards, take another two forward, another one back. We've done this shuffling sort of dance, trying to work out where the relationship's going. And all of a sudden, I think it's going to explode into we're going to take this almighty giant leap forward. It's interesting because I'm picking up around him that he's quite shy. Yet most of his friends would describe him as being sort of quite extroverted, the life of the party, he's somebody that's always making a noise, when he's around. But when it comes to personal relationships and being in love, he actually is quite shy and quite nervous. And that's why I think it's taken this amount of time for the relationship to get any sort of traction. I don't feel uncomfortable with him. I like him. I think he's a decent sort of man. I think, he would certainly look after you and do the right thing by you. I just think he needs a little bit more confidence where you're sort of more confident in how you feel about him. Are you not, Kimberlyn?
Yeah, no, that's very spot on. He definitely is pretty shy in terms of feelings and relationships and stuff like that. But I am certainly not. I'm a very passionate person.
No, you're very out there. If you like somebody, they know it. If you fall in love, they know it too. We just need to nurture that with him. It's just sort of like I put him in a professional situation and he's super confident. He's the go-to person. And I put
Yeah,
him in a love thing and he's like, and he gets all tongue-tied and sweaty and and he's trying to find an excuse at why he can't go on the date because all of a sudden he's got a pain in his tummy and a headache and his right toe's about to fall off and it's just nerves. It's just I don't know that he's had a lot of experience in that way. And if even if he has had a little bit and he's been hurt, that sort of amplifies that. But look, he's just such a lovely man. Once he takes his floaties off and gets his sea legs, so to speak, he's going to dive into this relationship and he's really going to blossom and really show you that he will take the lead when he gets his confidence. It's like night and day. But he's just such a nice
yeah,
man and in a
he
strange sort
is.
of
He's a
way,
sweetheart. He's definitely shy, though.
yeah, he is. But what I also feel is he sort of looks at himself and says, how did I get this lucky? This can't be real. She's going to meet somebody else who's better suited to her and I'll be out in the cold. And he keeps telling himself he doesn't deserve you. And I disagree with that because, he's a very decent, kind sort of man. I mean, there's nothing I've picked up there that I didn't like about him, just other than the fact I want to, give him a shake and move him along a bit faster. But he's a real sweetheart. And
Yeah.
it's it's interesting how he sees himself differently to how you and I view him. Do you know what I mean? Like he doesn't think he's got a lot
Mhm.
to bring to the relationship, and I disagree with that. I think he's got a lot to bring to the relationship. He's just such a
Yes,
sweetheart.
100%.
And I feel as his confidence grows in the relationship, I think we'll see that spill over into his everyday life as well. I think we'll start to see him become even more confident in his job and things like that. People are going to start noticing there's a real energy about him because he's a very intelligent man. But again, I come back to this lack of confidence in even his ability. Even though he can be the go to person on the job, he doesn't put himself first. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't be the first one in
No,
line to
he
put an
doesn't.
application in for a promotion. He'd suggest that everybody else do it, and when someone says to him, "Oh, you should," "Oh, yeah, I'll get around to that." Do you know what I mean? He just doesn't put himself in
Yes.
that situation, and that's what I can see is going to grow, and that's what I think is so beautiful. Not only is he blossoming as a man and being able to come to terms with his feelings and talk about love and all those sort of things, it's overflowing into every area of his life. um, I don't know that. Well, I mean, I know he hasn't really expressed to you how he feels, but he sort of
That's
gets all
true.
tongue tied and whatever, but he's already started looking at rings.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes me feel better because I was,
Good.
you know, he's not very outspoken about his feelings. I know he has a lot
Mhm.
internally that he feels, but he doesn't really express it. So it had me
Mhm.
a little on edge.
Yeah, but maybe what you can suggest to him or show him by example, sometimes when people have difficulty expressing how they feel, a song can say what they can't express. Do you know what I mean? So maybe
Mhm.
you could make it meaningful, maybe over Easter. Pick a song that you're going to send to him as your little special gift over this break that tells him how you feel. Do you know what I mean? And that might encourage him to do the same, because sometimes, we do get tongue tied. Nobody gives us the rule book on how to handle emotions and love and raising children. They're the two things in life that nobody gives us a rule book on, and they're major areas. But I know he's already been looking online at rings and the price of them and the shapes and all those sort of things. So he's definitely serious. That's where we're going to leave it, sweetie. Happy Easter, and enjoy the time with your family. So we've only got a couple of minutes left of the show. As I said, there's been a number of tragedies around the world. Our heart goes out to everybody. When I was getting ready for the show, and I always pick a song of the week, I sort of try and either go with something that's been driving me nuts for the week that I've had on the turntable a lot, or something I think that has meaning. And when I was doing my little bit of research last night, and I was looking for a song that's epitomised Easter, and I thought, I can't think of anything like it. Christmas time, we have so many Christmas carols that we can choose from. Anyway, I was going through that, and up popped something. Then I thought, well, yes, that's appropriate. And I know last week we spoke about John Farnham, and you're the voice on the show, and this week I'm going to ask you to let me indulge myself again. And this week we're going to have another John Farnham song, but I think it's very appropriate for Easter. It's with two of his backing singers. One is Vanetta Fields and the other one is Lindsay Fielding. Now, for those of you that don't know who Vanetta Fields is, she was the backup singer for people like Boss Skaggs, Pink Floyd, Alice Cooper, and the list goes on, the Rolling Stones, and it just goes on and on and on. And I've had the good fortune of meeting Vanetta. She's a beautiful person and she has the most amazing voice. And I've seen her just in concert on her own many times here locally, because she lives not far from me, or used to. And it's a beautiful song, and I think it's very religious. It's a beautiful song, and I think it's appropriate for Easter, and it's called Amazing Grace. So check that out on your devices. John Farnham and Amazing Grace and his backup singers. Until next week, have a very, very happy Easter. And I hope the Easter Bunny is very kind to you and brings you loads of chocolates. Bye for now.